And I think those aliens, those lovely Thermians, I mean, ridiculous as they are, the way they walk and all the rest of it. But anyway, but you know, they took ideas and turned it into a reality
Mm.
that nobody thought was possible. And I think a plus side of AI is that it can do that for people, particularly for people who didn't have the opportunity to do that before. And I think that's a wonderful thing that AI can do. I mean, I can create fantastic images for stuff that I create for people and for courses that I do and all the rest of it. I could never have done that in a million years unless AI was there to do all the hard graft for me. You know, you just type in what you wanted to do and you know the images and you play around with it a little bit. But isn't that just a fantastic tool that we
Mhm.
can use?
Yeah. It's interesting. She said a comment earlier. She said AI is the bridge, right? It
Mm.
bridges the gap between things. And she said that word, and because this is a Star Trek related thing, the first thought that came to my mind is the bridge. This is the part, and it's on a ship. It's the
Yeah.
bridge of the ship. And it's a naval term, and But I thought about that. AI is the bridge, and I thought, okay, that's something. Like, what if the bridge that is AI, is literally the thing that we stand in and sit in with all the buttons and because the bridge has all the tech in it, right? It's got the buttons to control all the
Yeah.
functions of the environment. And from the bridge, you can control the direction and the speed
Mm.
and the exploration that you're about to do, going into the stars and
Yeah,
beyond,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I thought that's a really interesting thought is that AI is literally the bridge, like a bridge of a ship, that we can use to go where we want to go, especially if our imagination is the only thing limiting us to where we want to go. And I just think that's really cool idea that AI is it, based on Galaxy Quest, the idea that something that was imagined is now become a reality. Maybe AI is just that, something that has been imagined in our past is now literally active. And now, just like the bridge that the star of the show, Jason, realizes, he's standing on, it becomes a reality. Maybe AI is a reality that has been brought to us, and we literally talked about this in the beginning, where Debbie said, when you're forced into a narrative, and I'm like, but and I think, well, who's going to force me into anything? Nobody can make me do something. I was like, wait a minute. AI has been forced upon me. I did not choose the
Exactly.
advent of AI. AI was
Exactly.
not a it was not a societal decision to make AI, and that's really fascinating. AI has literally been forced upon us. We are now on the bridge, just
Mm.
like in Galaxy Quest, with AI. AI is the bridge, and everything we imagine, the idea of the Omega 13 and space travel and anything else that we could have imagined that might be real has just been brought to us. And right now, all we are is we're in the haze of a hangover. you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
we're hung over being drunk on our own capacity to develop whatever technology, and we're just now starting to come out of the haze of this hangover and realize that, hey, wait a minute, AI is a real thing and it's really working and it's really going to take us somewhere. And you think about that, um, it's just, I don't know, it's kind of fascinating. It's that's a I, we're in it. We
We
very well may just be in the Galaxy Quest, and it's a bit of a comedy, right? But then people start to get to scary thoughts, right? They're like, but what about that evil alien that came to destroy them? And what if in our naivete we don't realize that he's there to destroy us and we just think it's a joke and it's not? And what if we get hurt, And like, okay, well, that's a possibility, but we have everything we need to succeed. And
we do.
even though technology was a part of the success, ultimately the success of the characters in that film was specifically their own understanding of themselves. And it was, yes, they may have had some technology that was developed by aliens to help them to succeed, but outside of that little boost of the technology, it was really themselves. They had to step into the role that they had been pretending and do it for real. And one thing Debbie said, she said, they had to learn lessons that they had been teaching others all this time.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Which they did all the way through whatever Galaxy Quest episodes they had when it was for Star Trek. But I mean,
Mhm.
Crewman Guy is a perfect example of that because he goes through the film thinking that he's going to die because that's what
Mhm.
he did in the series. He died in a start of one episode with lava monster, whatever, and then but he ends up being part of the crew and sailing through it because he learned. Well, he was expecting this, and this goes back to AI and people losing their jobs. He was expecting to lose his job, as an
Mhm.
example, within 10 minutes,
Yep.
because that's what that's what happened in the series. But
Mhm.
actually, he turned out to be, you know, perfectly good, and he worked out a different way
He
of doing
changed his
things.
destiny.
He changed his destiny. Absolutely.
And it's, I love that part. That's why he's such a critical character, is because yes, the others fell into parts, into roles that they had, and their roles were main character roles.
yes,
But somebody who, and I think this goes right back to the point you made earlier about the people who don't have a voice, the
yes,
guys out there, that
yes,
the non-character characters out there who don't have a voice in this new reality that can't be real because we just can't fathom the idea of it being real is real, and if they accept it as real, they can do something about it to change their own destiny. And somebody without a voice can take on a voice and can do something to make their voice not only heard, but they can become a main character. That's just,
yeah.
I think
And
that's so cool.
isn't that such a powerful thing? And
Yeah.
you see it online that people do who do positive things with all this stuff about. But yeah, I mean, you can turn from being just like this guy character to being a main character.
Hmm.
And it's interesting in the film that the rest of the actors really don't know what to do with him. They're just like, oh, okay, well, you're still here. Or, okay, well, we'll run away. We don't want somebody to get Guy. But he is the little man or the little person or whatever, however you want to say it. But that's a great thing because he finds his voice
Hmm.
through whatever all the stuff that goes on in the film.
Well,
Um,
it's super cool. I'm on the Wikipedia page here
oh yeah, yeah,
looking,
yeah,
to see the overview of the film to get the notes and stuff. And I've had it up since before we started talking, but I'm looking at Sam Rockwell, the actor,
yeah.
and his role, Guy Fleegman is the
That's
name,
right. Yeah,
and he was crewman number six, right? Like a
that's right. Yeah,
classic title for somebody who is not significant, unimportant. They're just there for the emotional fodder of when the main character is upset because he's lost a crew member, or
yeah,
something. But it says in a single episode that's all he did. But in the revival, he gains a part as the security chief, Rock Ingersoll, right? Like
yeah.
security chief. And I think about that because he was deathly concerned once he figured out that it was real. He was like, I'm gonna die for real.
Exactly, exactly.
It was nice to be on a show and get paid for a minute and stuff, but at least I had reality to lean back on and I could go earn a living somewhere else in my life. But if this is all real and I am here now as crewman number six, I'm going to die and I don't want to die. And he does what he needs to do and he survives it. And then he comes back to the TV show again later, but now he's the security chief. And I think that's fascinating. The security chief, the person who was most afraid, now becomes the chief of security. He's the one who protects and saves others, essentially. It's like now he's in charge of other people's safety. And that's the thing about somebody who has no voice gaining a voice.
Mm,
They can begin to protect others without a voice.
exactly, exactly right, exactly right. And that is, I think, where AI is going to go, or we are going to go with AI, because we're going to find people. There will be people out there who find their voice and realize what AI can do and what AI
Mhm.
can't do, and then start to protect other people. And what is more powerful than that? And
Mhm.
you do see that with people. People are protecting other people, and we're talking about security with AI. I mean, that's a whole other ball game. We don't need to go down
Mhm.
that route today. But isn't that a wonderful thing that actually AI can make you more aware and more socially conscious and
Mhm.
more have an ability to support other people, which is great. And that was his character arc, um, throughout that film. And you know, it's just great.
Yeah. There's a point I wanted to bring up. Maybe 2 points, but they might be interrelated. So early on, when Debbie was talking to us, she was saying, that these people had to live up to a fantasy, right?
Yeah.
They had to they had they had to bring. How did I write my notes? It says they had to that they were being expected to be a hero, right? Like,
Mm.
like that expectation of being a hero was put upon them.
Yes.
And so they had to live up to this heroic expectation. And then she said something else later on, and maybe this is a separate point, but I think they go together. And I want to throw them out there verbally to see if they fit. But
Go
here
for
we
it.
are expecting to be a hero. Like there's an
Mm.
expectation put upon you, which that's a lovely thing, being expected to be more than what you are. Having high expectations of people. That's a positive thing. It's difficult for the individual who has high expectations laid upon them. It's a challenge. It's definitely something difficult. But then she said something what AI does not have that we have in our human experience. And she says specifically our experience, our context, and our wisdom. Those 3 points: experience, context, and wisdom. And then she made a point specifically about experience, saying that experience doesn't have to be lived experience, right? Because that's a common thing that you hear out there in the world of argumentation, where people are really going after each other in vicious and visceral ways on their internet commentary and other things. Is the concept of a lived experience, like, is so critical. You have to have the degrees, you have to have a specific cultural understanding. You have to have a specific lived experience to be able to say anything about anything. Like, if you don't have this, then you can't even talk about that, right? But what Debbie said, the comment that you don't even have to have a lived experience in order to have the experience, context, and wisdom that AI doesn't have. And that's the thing. And so bringing it back to how somebody had a high expectation laid upon them, and they came into this scenario with this high expectation, and what did they have to do to change? They had to go through some serious hardships. They had to go through some pain, some suffering, a challenge that felt insurmountable in the beginning, right? They blundered their way into it, if you will, or they were forced into it. However you look at it, there's blundering and there's forcing all mixed together in this film of Jason being called up to do this role, and he blunders his way at the front, and at the end he has to sacrifice and give more than he's got all the way up through to the end, and it's a struggle all the way. But because of his experience, his unlived experience, but his human experience, and the context and the wisdom that he had from his experience, context, and wisdom combined, made him successful, made him live up to the role of the hero that he's supposed to be. And so now, how did that work out? How do you go from the expectation that you should be a hero to being able to accomplish hero-ness, if you can say that, his herohood, whatever, without any actual lived experience to do that. Like how can you be a hero if you don't have superpowers? How can you be a hero if you've never saved anybody before? Like how can you do that? And I think this film takes you through step by step a process that anybody can go through, and it involves imagination. It
Yep.
involves accepting the reality around you.
Yeah. It does.
And then it also involves a determination to not quit. I can't believe I just forgot the key phrase of the entire film. What do they say? Never
Never forget, never give up. It's something along those
surrender
lines.
or
It's
something like that. Is it
surrender. Never surrender. Yeah, never surrender, never give up. That was
yeah,
the
never
last.
surrender, never. I can't, that's the best part of
Yeah,
the whole movie, right?
that's what they say. And
That's
what I mean, my favourite character, of course, is Alan Rickman as Dr. Lazarus,
yeah,
who is the least interesting
effective.
person in the show.
Yeah.
But then he never takes his makeup off when he's even at home. Um, but he goes through a real thing because
Mhm.
he hates his character. He hates the lines he has to say.
Yeah, by the hammer of Thor or whatever it
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. By grab Thor's hammer and all
Yeah,
the
grab Thor's hammer. That's
he,
it. Yeah.
he absolutely hates everything. And then towards the end of the film, he's got this little bit of a friendship relationship with Quillup, who gets shot and killed, and it completely flips him because he says to him at the end of but just before this little alien dies, he says all the lines that he has said all the way through the film that he hates, but he says it
Hmm.
to him, but he knows that means something to this alien, and then he becomes right. Let's go get him, and he's flipped, and he's realised that actually him, his fantasy character, which he actually lives his whole life through, obviously, um, is actually doing good. It actually means something to other people.
Have you ever felt like AI is taking over?
Well, we know that AI is the biggest workplace shift since the internet, and it's already here. This is AI and I, the age of co-intelligence.